One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today was because of the 40th anniversary of Tattoo You, and it's such an interesting, record in your catalog. So I wondered, you spent some time with this new release. What do you think about that album now?
I've been doing a bit of research lately. Mick did a lot of work on putting and finding everything and putting things back together. But I realized that Tattoo You was, I think it was one of the first albums that we made without actually going in. We're going to make an album, and we either die in the attempt and we come out the other end. But Tattoo You was like a few sessions from Paris, and then we'd realized that we had, over the years, we had just left a whole lot of stuff like trailing behind us that we really needed to catch up on. Start Me Up, I think, was at least 5 years old by the time it got on this album.
So this is what's so funny to me, Keith, is that Start Me Up, first of all, Start Me Up and Waiting on a Friend, the song that starts and closes the record. The fact that those songs didn't make previous records is, most bands would hear that and would crumple. The fact that those couldn't make the cut.
You're crazy, right? I tell you what, I quite agree with you. But the Stones, we have a lot of stuff in the can, and we don't finish, as I said earlier, we can't, finish everything. Suddenly it's the deadline, and meanwhile, we have, like 4 or 5 songs still on the burner.
Right.
And Tattoo You was a lot of catching up with what was on the back burner. And saying, "Oh man, I mean, how did you miss Start Me Up?" But I can explain that by saying that we did, I think, 45 takes of Start Me Up. I was convinced it was a reggae song, so it was in totally different rhythm, exactly the same figuration, and we took a break, and Charlie and I said, "Let's twist it around." and then we went back to doing more reggae versions. And then we found it 5 years later, this one rock and roll version, which means that you should really check out what you leave in the can.
One of the really interesting things about being able to do it now and going back is you can put out this super deluxe version of it and all these extra tracks and outtakes or whatever. But back then, when you're assembling a record, how do you take songs and make it sound like a cohesive album when they're from so many different parts of the band's story?
Tattoo You was actually one of the first albums, one of the fewest albums that was actually made from different parts of different albums over a period of time. It wasn't cut like a Some Girls, or where we had a definite thing, everything in mind, and it's gonna this sort of sound and this. Tattoo You is a beautiful, like, leftovers, which turned out to be, in its own way, a beautifully flexible album. Maybe because it wasn't so planned,
Right.
Maybe it was because it was, hey, it's what the Stones do, and we've got so much stuff left over. This is what happens, when you're in a band for 60 years. You get me too. Right?
I do. And that must sound surreal for you to say it. But what we get with this now is you get spatial audio. So there's a different mix of some of these tracks. So somebody listening might get a better sense of what it would have been like to be in the room with you.
Oh, true. Yeah, there are technological differences. You can pull out more bass and stuff. I don't like to screw around too much with the sounds, what they are, because what is what is.
That's important. When you and Mick approach something like an anniversary or a reissue, is it a bit of a challenge because you want to honor what is? But
I say to Mick, go on, play with it and send it to me. And I'll say, yay or I say nay.
Right. How much was yay or nay on this particular project?
I had no problem with yay and troubles are coming.
Mm-hmm.
I had trouble with living in the heart of love as a bonus track at first, because to me it was still an unfinished work, and I said, I'll never finish it. But then when I heard it back, Mick talked me into it. And then I got it, and I said, yeah, I understand, and so I think we'll be throwing it in the set sooner or later as well. But the Starlight song, Troubles Are Coming, that was my idea, and we did it, and we threw it out, because sometimes we were just in the studio, we just say, hey, let's do this cat song, there's to warm up and stuff. And then I realized later how that was a very warm track, and now we're enjoying playing it on stage. Mm-hmm. Hey man, it's a little confusing for me at the moment because things are really rocking.
Yeah. You're not used to it. You're not used to things being rocking like this.
Oh, I'm used to be over rocking, but I wasn't expecting to be rocking as much on this thing. I got to say, it's feeling good. It's real feeling good, and and cross fingers and everything. Everybody behaves themselves. This could be a great tour.
I mean, I've seen you play a lot, like I said, but last night I got a sense that there was a joy on stage. There was Ron was killing it, and you and Mick were having a good time. Like, there was a real joy on stage again.
It's true. That's true. I got to say, I mean, the last thing I wanted to do was a Rolling Stones tour without Charlie. But Charlie said, look, go on with Steve. Obviously everybody apparently, would know that I've worked with Steve for 30 odd years, so it was nothing, it was not like some new boy being thrown in. Mm-hmm. He'd also worked with Mick and me over the last couple of years in the studio in New York, writing songs and stuff. So it was a sort of seamless transition, but at the same time, Steve has brought a new energy mm-hmm. to the whole thing that's happening, and I mean, that's no bad thing,
Yeah. Was it Charlie's idea, or whose idea was it to bring Sonny Rollins on the songs?
That was Charlie was too. Man, I'm going to miss the man forever, and at the moment, I'm still sort of doing it in small increments because otherwise it would be too difficult.
Right.
But I can almost feel Charlie smiling down on us every night, and for the moment that'll have to do.
No matter who you are, no matter how successful in whatever aspect of life, loss is loss, pain is pain, changes are changes, and it's just you change. So you're not the same guy you were 40 years, but parts of you are. And I just wonder if you how you get
a few bars, a few bars. Flexibility is the answer to that. Yeah.
Has it always been that way for you? Were you always flexible?
You gotta be, man. At the same time, you don't bend over for everybody.
You pick your spots.
But, you gotta roll with the punches, And this thing's called rock and roll, and my important thing on this thing is roll. Mm-hmm. The rock is comparatively easy. The roll is the thing.
When you're with somebody for as long as you and Mick have been together, and I know that in any relationship, you've had times where you get along better than others, but when you go out on stage like you did last night and on this tour, and you see Mick doing his thing, what is that like?
That is when we are at our closest, Mick and I, because it's almost indescribable. But, when Mick and I are out there working, and we both know that, hey, I'm counting on you. Mm-hmm. I'm counting on you. And there's a beautiful jousting and also like a support. That's where actually I feel my friendship with Mick more intensely than at any other time he's on stage. That's the first time I said that. Yes, first time I said that.
And I know that all bands do this. You know, you put your arm around the guy, they look at each other, whatever. But there was a moment last night because
Yeah.
But I saw this last night where I just saw a little moment, and I thought, I think this is really, they're really enjoying this in a different way than I had seen before.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I mean, there's been no faking. I mean, that's not the way it is. I mean, if you see, when I see my man up there singing, I say, geez, look at that cat, man. You know, he's out there stark fucking naked. And I can strip him. I can, and there's nothing I can do. I have to go support my friend, and he knows that I'm going to be there, and he's going to put himself in a position where I have to go, and he knows I'm going to be done. There's no doubt about it. I have his back. He has mine. It's an interesting piece of improvisation goes on every night, and it's like, how far do you want to push it? And that's half the fun of it. It's never the same. This show has no script.
Right. When you push each other in any creative pursuit, you can sometimes push too far. Has that ever happened?
Probably, and one of us go over the edge. Yeah. Most people say it'd be me, but no. It's not an actual sort of jousting in that sense. It's just saying, how can we make this show make it a little more daring and make it a little more fresh, flexible, fresh, and we can play around. To have the, I think at the moment the feeling of the security that you can actually do a few more things than normal, than we're not rehashing it here.
Right.
We're trying to refashion it.
How many songs do you have now that you've been messing around with that are newer songs?
958 and a half.
That's a lot of songs. That's a lot of songs. I don't believe you, but you must have, are you writing new songs all the time now? Have you got new ideas?
Yeah. What am I going to do? No, songs are there. I mean, when do you call a song finished or just an interesting idea? I mean, that's once you're a songwriter, you're stuck with that. You could be, shaving. You could be listening behind somebody else's door. You hear something, and if you're a songwriter, you say, jot it down, and you start to. It's a storytelling thing,
right?
Really, and it's the marrying of a riff or a melody with the right words. I mean, it's fascinating job, and you can't retire.
All right, man. I know it's time to let you go, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.